died shortly before I left for Iraq in 2005. And when we went through things, we found 19 loaded handguns. They were... Now, the thing is, they were stashed all over her house, under her bed, in her closet, in the silverware drawer. And we wondered what was going on, and it occurred to us that towards the end of her life, Mamaw couldn't get around so well. And so this frail old woman made sure that no matter where she was within arm's length of whatever she needed to protect her family. That's who we fight for. That's American spirit.
This is like, I think DeSantis briefly mentioned 2A in his remarks. This was like the most that the Second Amendment, that guns got mentioned, and I was very, very excited about that. Obviously, last night by JD Vance and his acceptance of the VP nomination. Welcome back. Dana Lash with you, top of this third hour. And you can listen coast to coast. You can also watch the simulcast of the radio program on X. You can watch it on Rumble, all that good stuff. The discussion happens on Rumble as well. So I was happy to hear that. And that makes sense, right? To have guns like all over your house. I mean, that's not abnormal at all. One quick thing about this, and we're going to switch gears to all the latest with the Secret Service stuff, because there's all kinds of new developments out. I've been watching some of my friends argue back and forth over Vance's VP, because I think his selection as VP is much more consequential than when it was Mike Pence picked. And then the second thing is that I think it is projecting the plans for the future of the Republican Party. More so than Mike Pence ever did. Mike Pence was done because Trump didn't have a political record, and they needed somebody who could act like the vanilla statesman, right? I don't know. That's why Pence got picked. That's why they ended up putting Biden on Obama's ticket. I mean, it's kind of how it is. But with Vance, he's gonna have to get out there and make the case. He really will, and because he doesn't have that much of a record. He's brand new in the Senate, so he actually has less time being in elected office than Barack Obama did when he left the Senate to run for the White House. So he's really got to make the case, because flyover nation voters, it's not enough. I feel like, and this is just what I've been hearing from a lot of you that have reached out to me over the years. It's not enough to be like, oh yeah, I grew up the same, right? That's, a lot of people grew up, in rural areas. A lot of us grew up like that. A lot of us grew up where you didn't have like the supermarket down the road or something like that. I mean, that's not unusual. But I think what so many people in flyover country, they're used to two things. They're used to being denigrated as bitter clingers, right? Like they were under Obama, or deplorables under Hillary. And they're used to being patronized. Like how Biden does the Scranton Joe shtick, right? They're used to it. So they're going to be watching for authenticity. And I do feel like it was authentic last time. I mean, that's how he grew up. And he's been very transparent about his upbringing. I think partly because that's just who he is, but also partly because Democrats can't weaponize any of that now. Think about it. Think about this 20 years ago. Don't you think that Democrats would have been easier ground to like weaponize someone in your family that maybe was an ad? You know what I mean? It just seems like that now that's not a weapon anymore. But I will say this. Vance does have to make the case. And I'm going to bring this up only to show you what you got to overcome. When Vance ran for Senate in Ohio, and again, I liked him better as a pick than Bergram or Rubio or Haley. When you look at Ohio, Mike DeWine, the governor, is a moderate. And he outperformed Vance by like over 2-1. He got way more votes than Vance. He had a double point lead as opposed to Vance. It was single digit. It was very close in his Senate race. That is something he's going to have to overcome. It's not a guarantee. I think it was actually kind of a risky move. It was a gamble to secure Trump's legacy and the future plot for the Republican Party, the pathway for the Republican Party. Because he could have gone with somebody like a Youngkin, a safe bet. But Vance he's solidifying that portion of the Republican party that pathway forward. So Vance is going to have to, he's going to have to work because Republicans lost a lot of ground in the suburbs. Republicans underperformed in 2022. The GOP lost a lot of ground in 2020. The GOP lost a lot of ground in 2018. These are all true things. So that is something you do have to consider. That means there's a lot of groundwork to get done, a lot of groundwork to do. And so I will say that the GOP was more successful at the state legislative level and the gubernatorial level and the congressional level. So there is that silver lining in it. And presidential elections and presidential politics can be very, very tricky. So we're going to see how this plays out. But they got some work to do. Vance has to increase his name recognition. August 12th is going to be a real, like, people got introduced to him last night. The next time people will get introduced to him is August 12th when he debates Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris does not perform well under pressure, and she's bad in debates. JD Vance, he cannot come off as shrill or anything other than how he did last night. He has got to stick that tone. He sticks to that tone as a guy who just wants to improve things for America, American workers, and all this. Oh, man, Harris won't have a shot. She won't have an opening. She's going to play every card that she can. Oh, I'm the woman. And Vance, by holding the tone that he had last night, will circumvent that.